The Theory of a Business by Peter Drucker. Drucker believes that the theory of a business, or the assumptions on which a company has been built and is operating on, depends on assumptions about the environment of the organization, assumptions about the specific mission of the organization, assumptions core competences needed to accomplish the organization's mission. As the organization becomes bureaucratic and sluggish, it becomes extremely difficult to change systems and mindsets when the assumptions are no longer valid. This was the situation that General Motors found itself during the 1980s. In the following pages, Drucker teaches us how to maintain a valid theory of business. Organizing for success in business. Decentralized structure. In 1946, Drucker wrote Concept of the Corporation, which explores the evolution of the business corporation and its impact on society. The result of 18 months of interviews and observation, the book discusses the beliefs and management style of Alfred P. Sloan, General Motors creator. Drucker noted that GM gave its divisions great independence, which was uncommon by the standards of the day. In over 20 years of work, Mr. Alfred P. Sloan Jr. has developed the concept of decentralization into a philosophy of industrial management and into a system of local self-government. GM had 50 divisions, and Drucker estimated that all but 5% of decisions were within the control of the divisions. Decisions that did require head office approval had to do with the financial function, pricing, labor costs, and capital deployment. Drucker invented the term profit center to describe a division and noted that these groups were held highly accountable for results. Corporation as human effort. Drucker believes that decentralization is key to the corporation's success. Decentralization creates a pattern of behavior and a basis for the successful solution of majority of problems. Furthermore, it provides an environment for grooming GM executives by placing them in positions where they could take responsibility without endangering the entire company. As they mature and their skills broaden, they are given new positions where they can apply themselves. Drucker considers the corporation the means by which people could attain their dreams. He considered GM as a representative institution of the large mass production plant, which had become America's social reality. However, GM was still far from achieving Drucker's ideal that the corporation should be an engine with which to achieve the greater good. GM's concept of employment was to churn out the highest volume of cars at the lowest possible cost. The role of the worker was to do as he was told and perform his assigned task on the assembly line with mindless monotony. Self-governing plant community. Drucker believes in empowerment and recommended that GM should create the self-governing plant community where members could have a say in workplace decisions and could have taken pride in their work. He criticized the assembly line on economic and human grounds. He believed the assembly line was inefficient because the line moved only as fast as the slowest worker. No one produced a finished product, and the monotony was counterproductive. While Drucker recognized that a small unit was inefficient and had no place in modern mass production, he also believed that a small unit could best provide a worker economic dignity. In addition, Drucker believed in giving long-term workers guaranteed annual wages so that they would be less vulnerable to economic downturns. The workers in turn would be properly motivated because they were no longer dispensable to management. Drucker's ideas were quite close in nature to those of Walter Reuther, head of the United Auto Workers Union, and GM's adversary, and because of GM's post-war labor problems, these ideas fell on deaf ears. It was only much later that GM adopted the idea of the guaranteed wage. Corporation as pillar of society. Sloan's successor, Charlie Wilson, solicited employee opinion in order to improve jobs. His findings revealed that employees wanted to identify themselves with the product and the company to be held responsible for quality and performance. This desire became the source of post-war management philosophy in Japan. Drucker's study of GM influenced management practice in companies throughout the world, but his ideas were not welcomed by Sloan. Despite this, Drucker considered Sloan's contribution to GM as invaluable and believed that GM had even more powerful and successful theory of the business than IBM. The company did not have one setback in 70 years, a record unmatched in business history. GM's theory combined in one seamless web assumptions about markets and customers with assumptions about core competencies and organizational structure. Theory of business. Drucker defines the theory of business as a set of assumptions on which the organization has been built and is being run. He outlines the conditions needed for the theory to remain valid. The assumptions about the environment, mission, and core competencies must fit reality. The assumptions in all three areas have to fit one another. The theory of a business must be known and understood throughout the organization. The theory of a business has to be tested constantly and altered if necessary. According to Drucker, GM excelled on the second point. Its assumptions about the market and about the optimum manufacturing process were a perfect fit. GM decided in the mid-1920s that it also required new as yet unheard of core competencies, financial control of the manufacturing process, and a theory of capital allocations. As a result, GM invented modern cost accounting and the first rational capital allocation process. Maintaining a valid theory. In order to prevent the collapse of the theory behind a business, there are two preventive measures that organizations can utilize. Challenges the status quo. Every 3 years, an organization should challenge every product, every service, every policy, every distribution channel with the question, if we were not in it already, would we be going into it now? This will prompt management to ask the right questions. Why didn't this work, even though it looked so promising when we went into it 5 years ago? Is it because we made a mistake? Is it because we did the wrong things? Or is it because the right things didn't work? Study what is going on outside the business. The first signs of fundamental change rarely appear with one's own organization or among one's own customers. Drucker believes that when the organization attains its original objectives, the theory behind it becomes obsolete. Thus, the organization must periodically review its environment, mission, and core competencies. In addition, an organization going through rapid growth is generally in a crisis situation. Any organization that doubles or triples its size within a fairly short period of time has necessarily outgrown its theory.